Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the news on Sunday morning. It is 6:30 a.m. and this is MD S. Hussain with you. Let's go through highlights the headlines. Imran Khan's son says father in death cell as he urges United Nations to act. Charlie Kirk murder, suspect on special watch in Utah jail, motive is still unknown. Israel threatens to strike a storehouse containing unique Palestinian artifacts. Ukraine, Russia, war live Trump ready for sanctions if NATO stops buying oil. London protest live 9 hours after police assaulted at Tommy Robinson March. How a launch find meaning in loss. 9 wonderful British days you have probably never celebrated. Let's go on the main discussion. Imran Khan's son has alleged that the former Pakistan Prime Minister's living conditions in solitary confinement at the Adiala jail were so poor. They were comparable to the death cells occupied by convicts serving capital punishment. Kashim Khan, the political leader's 26-year-old son, claimed his father has not been allowed to see his doctor and his access to lawyers was restricted. He told the Independent, the conditions my father is kept in are extremely harsh. He is confined to what to effectively a death cell with poor hygiene and no proper facilities for almost a year now. He has not been allowed to see his personal doctor even. There have been periods where his children, went 6 months without a single conversation with him. All of this is meant to physically torture him and mentally wreck him. But despite it, while he has remained steadfast, holding on to his faith and his belief in the people of Pakistan, democracy and rule of law, he said. It's extremely hard to see our father treated like this. He's sacrificed everything for his country to watch him now locked in a death cell in extremely painful. Mariam Riyad Otto, Khan's wife, Bushra Bibi's sister, said on Friday 2 new appeals to the United Nations Special Rapporteur Wantarsar were filed by her and Khan's son, Kashim and Sulaiman, on behalf of the couple, alleging torture and inhuman treatment in custody. A United Nations Human Rights Working Group previously ruled Khan's detention was arbitrary and unlawful, calling for Khan's immediate release and compensation under international law. Zulfikar Ali Bukhari, Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party spokesperson, said Imran Khan and his wife have endured inhuman conditions for far too long and it is only getting worse. This physical and mental torture of trying to break them has never been witnessed in our history before. Although the imprisonment is illegal, but as a world scales that deserve the basic prisoner rights, not to mention basic human rights and dignity, he said. And the Ukraine-Russia latest Trump ready to do major sanctions on Moscow when NATO countries stop buying Putin's oil. United Nations President Donald Trump has said he is ready to impose major sanctions on Russia over the war in Ukraine on condition in a lengthy post on his Truth Social platform Saturday morning. Trump said he would proceed if all NATO countries stop buying Russian oil. As you know, NATO's commitment to win has been for less than 100% and the purchase of Russian oil by some. He has been shocking. He wrote it greatly weakens your negotiating position and bargaining power over Russia. Anyway, I am ready to go when you are, just say when. His new statement comes after NATO announced plans to beef up the defense of Europe's eastern flank, as the United States has vowed to defend every inch of its ally after Russian drones breached Polish airspace earlier this week. The United Nations joined other NATO countries to express concern about Russian drones entering Poland, accusing Moscow of violating international law and the founding United Nations Charter. At the United States called the Polish airspace violating, alarming, and vowed to defend every inch of NATO territory. Drone breaches Romanian airspace during Russian attacks, claims Defense Ministry. Romania scrambled fighter jets when a drone reached the country's airspace during a Russian attack on Ukrainian infrastructure near the border, the Defense Minister said. Defense Minister Leonard Mostino said the F-16 pilots came close to taking over the drone as it was flying very low before it left national airspace toward Ukraine. A threat of drone strikes also prompted Poland to deploy aircraft and close an airport in the eastern city of Lublin on Saturday, 3 days after it shot down Russian drones in its airspace with the backing of aircraft from its NATO allies. Romania, a European Union and NATO state which shares a 650 kilometers, about 400-mile border with Ukraine, has had Russian drones fragments fall onto its territory repeatedly since Russia began waging war on its neighbor. Ukraine warns of need for money to keep war effort going. While no details of additional funding sources have been specified, Ukrainian government officials have appealed to allies to find ways to use Russian frozen assets to help Kiev's finance. The war with Russia has heated up in recent months with fierce fighting raging along with more than 1,000 kilometers of the front line, and Russian troops ramping up their attacks on Ukrainian cities and towns far behind it. Diplomatic efforts to end the war have brought no tangible results as yet. This week, tensions reached a new level as NATO fighter jets scrambled to shoot down multiple Russian drones that violated Polish airspace on Wednesday. Until any diplomatic solution is reached, we will need to keep fighting, and to keep fighting, we need money. And defense has an enormous financial cost. Head of the Parliamentary Budget Committee, Pidlasa, said. Ukraine needs at least 120 billion for 2026. Ukraine will need at least 120 billion for its defense in 2026 as the war with Russia drags on into its fourth year, Defense Minister Denis Mihal said on Saturday. Mihal said the funding was essential to maintain defense lines, produce more drones and other weapons, protect skies, and deter any further Russian aggression. The economy of the war demonstrates that if we spend less money than Russia, then we begin paying with our territories and most importantly with our lives. Mihail told an annual conference in Kyiv. Ukraine's defense spending shot up following Russia's invasion in February 2022, and it now spends more than 31% of its gross domestic product on its army. This year's state budget plans at least 63 billion in defense spending plus in canned weapons from Kyiv's Western allies. Roxolana Bitlasa, the head of the Parliamentary Budget Committee, said that the cost of the war kept rising. She said that in 2025, a day of the war cost 172 billion compared with our about 140 million in 2024. That included soldiers' wages, weapons, and payments to those injured or killed on the battlefield. She said, so we need the fundraise all the needed sources, all the needed money. So we need to fundraise all the needed sources and all the needed money. Actor Sean Penn says he was called by Putin in first meeting. Sean Penn has reflected on his first time meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin following the premiere of his 2001 movie, The Pledge. Penn, 65, a prominent supporter of Ukraine, dined with Putin and the film's star Jack Nicholson after the thriller Mystery's opening at the Moscow International Film Festival. Recalling their conversation during an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live on Thursday, the Oscar-winning father of the two said, "We talked about fatherhood." Penn recommended their dinner was approximately 3 weeks after then President George Bush said, "I looked into Putin's eyes and I felt like I could trust him. And when I said that, I have to say I was caught also." The milk actor added, "I felt that there was something genuine there. Now we know that he is very willing to kidnap 30,000 kids, murder a lot of people, and teach those kids to hate their parents and to their country. And yet our country isn't together enough to realize we should give them the resources to defeat him." Recap of Harry's flying visit to Ukraine. Prince Harry visited Ukraine on Friday, arriving in Kyiv with a team from his Invictus Games Foundation to outline his charity's plans to help rehabilitate wounded soldiers. Harris also visited the side of the Russians' numerous strikes on the capital. The head of the Kyiv's military administration, Timur Taksak, said, "Completely destroyed homes speak a universal language. Our pain also needs to translation," T wrote on the Telegram messaging app. "We are grateful to Prince Harry for his attention to our pain and for his hair-left compassion." It was Harry's second visit to Ukraine this year after he visited a center for wounded military personnel in Lviv in April. Harry was invited to Kyiv by Prime Minister Yulia Sbyarydenko and Olga Rudneva, head of the Superhumans Rehabilitation Center, his office said. He also met privately with Veterans Affairs Minister Natalia Kalmaykova and the Prime Minister and later laid a wreath of Maiden Square, his office added. "We cannot stop the war, but what we can do is to everything we can to help the recovery process," Harry told the Guardian on an overnight train to Kyiv, adding that he received permission from the British government and his wife before traveling. Police military training surges amid Russian fears. More than 20,000 Poles signed up for voluntary military training in the first 7 months of 2025, in line with record levels last year, according to the Colonel Gregory W., the head of the Poland's Central Military Recruitment Center. He expects around 40,000 volunteers to complete military training by the end of this year, more than double the 16,000 in 2022, reflecting a surge in public engagement since Russian invasion of Ukraine. Since the start of the war in 2022, Poland has more than doubled its defense spending from 2.2% of economic output to 4.7% this year, the highest ratio of military spending in the 32-nation NATO alliance. Well, had more than established European powers like Germany, France, and Britain. The return to the White House of Donald Trump, who has cast doubt on his willingness to defend NATO allies. He resigned European fears over the reliability of United States security commitments. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, who grew up under commitment rules, has been at the forefront of urging European leaders to take more responsibility for its defense. Countries that have no memory of Russian occupation or Soviet occupation for them, it's hard to imagine what the thing is you are fighting for, said Gustav Gressel, an expert on Russia and defense policy and researcher at the National Defense Academy in Vienna. Thank you everyone, and thank you for today.